Stephen A. Smith is one of my favorite media personalities of all time. I mean, the guy is hilarious. Just take this video, for example.
First move as the executive was to sign Lamar Odom, who was on crack.
I don't know how someone can watch that video and not think the guy is so funny. And he brings that barbershop energy to ESPN, that debate culture that everyone loves. I mean, you can go to a barbershop right now and anywhere across the world, and guys will be arguing about their favorite sports, women, politics, whatever, and you can really learn and understand the person. But it also brings back that passion of whatever you're talking about or arguing about. I mean, if you watch, for example, basketball, and you hear someone say something that you disagree with, it makes you want to go back and watch basketball again, or that game in particular again, and find out, how did he see it like this? How do I prove my answer or my point of view is the correct one? And that's what Stephen A. did. Him and Max Kellerman on First Take really brought back that debate culture that we all love, with him and Skip Bayless with the previous show had done so well as well. In 2016, after I watched LeBron James do one of the greatest feats I've ever seen, Stephen A. Smith was there to report and break down whether this was as good as Michael Jordan, whether LeBron still had flaws in his game. If you've seen my Skepta video, I discuss how there's so much basketball that I didn't see before or pre-2016. And Stephen A. Smith was there to break it down to me so I can go back and do my own research about the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and see if LeBron James was as good as those players or if he's even better. I said all of this about Stephen A. Smith and how he's inspired me to want to speak about basketball and be interested in basketball. But how does that all relate to Mimi, the music blogger? Well, take a seat and just... Before we get into all of that, my first thing I wanted to bring up is this definition of a media personality. So a media personality is an individual who gains performance and recognition through their work in media like TV, radio, and social media. They often have an audience that can exert influence on public opinion. So let's take a step back as well to AFTV. Anyone who remembers the early rise of AFTV know that they were the voice for the voiceless. They were considered to be this fan channel that was meant to represent one of the biggest clubs in England. But why did AFTV become so successful? Well, one of the reasons is that at the time, people wanted Arsene Wenger out, or at least a portion of the fan base did. And AFTV provided a platform for fans to express that frustration, to create stars like Troops, Thai, Turkish. All these guys were able to be birthed from this channel as they were tired of Wenger. They were tired of the standards going down. This was a league-winning team going down to a top 4 team that wins FA Cups. And the fans had enough of it. The fans were tired of this same cyclical, we get top 4, we miss out on a big player, we have a good player, they leave us, they go to our rivals, they win trophies, and the cycle continues and continues, all because of money. So people were tired of this cycle and wanted a break. And AFTV provided a platform for those people to speak out and create voices and opinions within the media space. Because obviously there's BBC, Sky Sports, and all these big platforms, but fans weren't able to express their opinions there. And what happens is it's a bunch of people who might have relationships with Arsenal that might not be able to express and say what they really feel, you know? Say how they're frustrated or be able to say what the fan is thinking, or the person at home who's watching it feels like. Because saying on TV that Arsenal looks soft at that time might not have been as popular as it is today with the likes of a Roy Keane who would just say, you know, United are soft and all that stuff. But enough of the football, right? Let's get into Mimi, the music blogger. So, what are some of the reasons why I enjoy her content or enjoy the work she's put out so much? Now, there are 3 reasons why I think she's really important in this music space. Now, the first would be Central C. So, who remembers my Central C video where I speak about how Central C felt as though he had no pressure when he was making his latest album, Can't Rush Greatness? And I thought as though Mimi was probably one of the only UK personalities to actually push back and ask something of Central C. And she asked the simple question that, if this album isn't good, is it make or break for Central C? Well, she didn't really ask it. She said, this album is make or break for Central C. And people laughed out of the room. Now, And the reason why I don't like it when people did that is because I think, especially for artists like Central C, it sets a bad precedent when he releases his next album if we don't hold him to a certain standard. Because listen, he knows the bar's in hell. So if he just stays at that low bar and he doesn't want to push himself and keep going, then when his competitors want to outdo him, they're just going to think about outdoing the numbers. They're not even going to think about outdoing it in terms of quality, in terms of rapping. And his rap could be whatever. It could be melodic, it could be whatever. But I just want people to want to do better than him. And I feel like she was the only one who really voiced her opinion. Now, the second reason why I like her so much is because she puts her nuts on the table. With Yara Cashew, think about it. She puts her nuts on the table. Now, she does this by being one of the biggest J Hus fans we've seen. I remember that period between Big Conspiracy and Baby, and she was really singing his praises, debating whether he's better than Dave, or is he the king, or is Dave the king, right? And she did it a lot on HC Pod, and I watch all the episodes where she's featured on it because I enjoy music conversations. And that's what I really like, you know, being the voice for the voiceless, like we said with the AFTV stuff. She was able to be that voice for J Hus fans. And because she's like close to age with me, kind of, a lot of the fans of Grime might not have had the chance to be young and listen to J Hus. They might have known his quality and heard it. And obviously it's an impressive achievement to transcend and be palatable to an older crowd. But Mimi was almost a voice for people growing up and still enjoying his music as they were still in their youth or in their adolescence period. So obviously I really appreciate that as well. Stephen A. Smith feels like one of the only people who championed the Knicks when they were down, and now that they're in the conference final, or they were, now they're knocked out because they didn't make it to because they didn't make it to the finals because Indiana beat them. That journey, you just want to hear what Stephen A has to think about it. You want to go back and watch the games and see, oh, if they win this, let's see what Stephen A says the next day. And that helps the product. That helps the product of the NBA. And now let's take this again back to music. If J Hus releases a great album, right, you want to hear what Mimi, the music blogger, has to think. If she's satisfied, if she's not happy with it. And that also helps J Hus in the end of the day. So for example, when J Hus releases his next album, that's one of my best performing videos on this channel. People are going to want to hear, was I satisfied? Did it live up to the hype? And whatnot. And that ultimately helps the artist. Now, the third and final thing I really like about Mimi, the music blogger, is it feels as though she has the three key pillars that I would say anyone needs in order to be successful in media. You need to be entertaining, have knowledge about whatever you're doing, and have social context. Now, the reason I say social context is because it's easy to book up a Trap Lil Ross. You do a lot of research, you listen to a couple songs, you make a big video, voila. But having that social context to understand what your community is feeling, how certain things are lines and certain lines can't be crossed is really important in my opinion. I think she does that really well. Now, with all this praise, there is one complaint I have. And it's not necessarily with her, but more so how the scene is constructed. I think we need more people to challenge her when she gets something wrong. And when I say more people, I mean other media personalities. Maybe it could be me, or maybe it could be other people who come up in this space in the next couple of years. But we can't just have, for example, her and a bunch of people who are cool with her but don't actually maybe care about music on a full-time basis. We need more music personalities like herself to challenge her a bit and come at her from a good place. And the reason I think this is important, because especially in the black community, is a lot of the time people can be attacked just because of their race rather than what they're actually saying. And what that happens is that that person could be dead wrong, but because you've now been racist, we can't really have that discussion anymore because now we need to defend our own. So we need more people in our community who can have that conversation together so that when other people are dissing them, it's almost ignored and they can actually learn from whatever mistake they made. Because she has learned from some of the mistakes she's made, whether it be the gatekeeping conversation or whatever, which I don't necessarily think is wrong, but it's just the way she said it at the time. Take, for instance, what Bukayo Saka has to deal with. I think, for example, when Bukayo Saka was coming up, there were flaws in his game, and I used to point that out to my Arsenal friends. But the problem is that racists will also use that as a way to slight him and say he's not that good or that Foden is miles clear. And now it's a conflict in the black community where one side of the argument is pro-Saka and they're seen as the people in the community. And the other side is the racists who don't see anything good that he does. And I want to be in the middle, but I can't because it feels as though it's almost become black and white. And I would say that's something we need to do in the music scene as well. there are a lot of people in our culture now, because of the rise of streaming and obviously because of certain individuals, let's say for example like a Drake or an H, who have brought a lot of white fans into our scene. I'm not saying they're the only people, but those are just some examples off the top of my head. So we need to create a space where it's safe for people to have discussions and give them pushback or have a debate, but in a healthy way and not a way where it's degrading the person because of their skin color and whatnot. But yeah, guys, that's been another episode. This episode has been hell to record because allergies have been going crazy. But let me know what you think, guys. Do you like Mimi the Music Blogger? Do you want to see more media personalities come out in the next couple of years like her? Yeah, let me know what you think of this video. I've got plenty more in the works. But it's been your boy Jay to the Izzo, and I'm out.